Okay, made this video as an example. It's not a all in end all. My vision is we have an icebreaker, we go to a quick video like so many DVD studies, and then we have a question guide. The DVDs to kind of give some background, but you don't want to really spend so much time asking interpretations. You want people to actually grow in their relationship with God, be able to be motivated to study the Word more. As always, it's to be bringing spiritual seekers to committed believers. Sorry, I have to hold this camera, which I don't like. I don't like my big head. Anyways, here we go. Okay, you've done your icebreaker. Now let's look into just a little bit of the background of Genesis before getting into the nitty-gritty details, which you can discuss with your small group. First of all, Genesis is part of the Torah, which are the first 5 books of the Bible. Moses wrote them. We know that because Jesus said Moses wrote them, as well as everything else, but he affirmed that. It's quite literally a family history. It's never been the intention for it to be a science book. It's never been the intention for it to be a world history. It is the story of God's family. So, it's also not a complete book of everything that happened before Adam and Eve walked the earth. In the book of Job, we have God revealing to Job that when he created the earth, the angels shouted for joy. Doesn't mention that in Genesis. Also, we have other references in the Bible to say that Satan and 1/3 of the angels rebelled against him. When did this happen? Did it happen in the first chapter of Genesis? Probably. Don't know that for sure, but it's a point worth discussing. In other words, there's other things in the Bible that pointed to around this time that aren't necessarily in this reading, so that's for further thought. Also, you got to think about it. If God did reveal to Moses in scientific detail what exactly happened, would he have even written it down? Would he have understood it? Remember, the Bible's written for everyone. It's not written just for academias or Hebrew scholars. Literally, thank God. That being said, there is one famous physicist named Herbert Spencer who said, the most general forms into which the manifestation of the unknowable are redivisible are time, space, matter, force, and motion. It took him 40 years to come up with that theory. Bible, 5 seconds. In the beginning, time. God created the heaven, space, and the earth, matter. And the earth was without form and void. Darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God, which is force, moved, motion, upon the faces of the water. Now, one fascinating thing I find in the first book of Genesis, the word for God is Elohim. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, Elohim. When they mention God said, let there be light, they just use the word Elohim. When God created man, they mentioned the word Elohim. Elohim is used in conjunction to the God of Abraham, Elohim of whatever the word of is in Hebrew, Abraham, and so forth. But in the first word of Genesis, and I have it here, we have this right here. I guess it's going backwards. I apologize, but I don't think you read Hebrew anyways, or maybe that's the way it's supposed to be. But you have the characters before God, which this translator puts at et, or I think it's pronunciations, but it's actually the Hebrew letters Adolf and Tav. Adolf is, or Aleph and Tav. Aleph is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. The first letter of the Greek alphabet is Alpha. Last letter of the Hebrew alphabet is Tav. Last letter of the Greek alphabet is Omega. Jesus refers to himself as the Alpha and Omega. Now, quite literally then, if you read this, it says, in the beginning, Alpha, Tav, God. Or, in other words, the beginning and end, God. The Alpha and Omega God created the heavens and the earth. Again, something I see, could be true, think it's true, but I'm not a Hebrew scholar. Now, also interesting is the creation story. Use the word make. used the word created at the beginning, but then he made man. He made the creatures of the sea. He made the birds of the air. In other words, that's to imply that he recreated them out of what he already had. He already created matter. Now he's rearranging it to everything else. Makes you think that maybe some of the evolution stories are biblical. It's a matter of, well, I'm not going to get into the details right here, but there's nothing that contradicts that God's not behind any of this. Now, before getting into the small group discussions, let's look at the first 3 verses in detail. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Now the earth was formless, empty, darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. In the first verse, we have God, and the second verse, we have the Spirit of God over water, which people say is the Holy Spirit. But let's go back. Any other Bible stories where you have the Spirit of God, the Holy Spirit, descending over water and having God speak? Baptism of Jesus. So many fascinating things. We can lecture days on this, but this is just meant to be a brief illustration at the beginning, give you a little bit of insight to what other scholars have said. So let's say a quick prayer and get into the study. Thanks.